Pros of video games are multifaceted. My favorite research says that kids that play video games are more likely to be able to read and follow instructions than kids that do not play video games. So those complicated instruction manuals that I kind of cannot get through, kids that play video games learn how to follow instructions, follow rules, do things systematically that kids that don't play video games don't do as well. Kids who play video games have an improvement in visual spatial relations. The idea that they can navigate things in 3D, which is super helpful. As a physician, it would have been incredibly helpful to me in organic chemistry if I could have actually seen things in a 3D kind of fashion. So those are the kinds of positives. The other things is that a lot of them are very pro-social. If you play the kinds of video games that you can connect to your friends, then you can actually make connections and have play dates with your friends via video games. The other things is that things like Minecraft, which I love, allow kids to play. So one of the things when we were growing up is that up to a certain age, latency age, elementary school, you could play dolls, you could play Lego, and then at a certain time in middle school, you put the Lego away and you put the dolls away because it just was no longer cool and socially acceptable. That's not the case anymore. Video games and online games offer children an opportunity to have imaginative play almost into adulthood, but certainly into middle school and high school. Because you can play these role-playing games, you can play these fantasy games. Video games offer your children this place to grow and be imaginative and play. So I can go on and on about the pros of video games. I think we talk a lot about the cons and not always focus on the pros. So in terms of the cons of video games, they do stimulate dopamine, which is the hormone that gets stimulated when you gamble, when you do drugs, when you have sex. And it's an addictive kind of hormone. So that part is real. It can be hard to turn off video games. Once you get into them, it's hard to stop them. And so they can impair sleep. They can be overstimulating for certain kids. Kids with ADHD are at higher risk of overusing it. The nature of ADHD makes the relationship with video games a little bit more complicated. It doesn't mean that kids with ADHD shouldn't play video games. What it does mean is that parents and educators need to be more thoughtful and vigilant about how to manage video games with kids with ADHD. If your child is not going to school and not sleeping and playing 10 hours plus and is constantly thinking about their game when they're at school, then that's an issue that needs to be addressed. That's a real issue that I think we should address. But for most of us, it's about trying to look at the pros and the cons of video games and use them in moderation.